Hey, good evening. Welcome to this live edition of Turnaround Marriage. We are so excited to be able to dive in with a subject today that is so near and dear to our hearts, so near and dear to what we do at Turnaround Marriage. And we just want to say, if you're out there tonight and this title has caught your eye, that you feel like, my goodness, we were once so in love. Why does it seem now like my spouse is often so mean? And you don't understand where they're coming from. You don't understand why they're so upset a lot of times. And it may be even in your situation, you've been trying to reach out to them. Been trying to love them and trying to give to them what you think that they need. Maybe you've even been praying for God to really change their hearts and really change the dynamics in your marriage. Well, if that describes you, this is exactly the place that you need to be this evening. So, Scott, my name is Scott, and my wife Rachel and I, we dive in together with a lot of couples, and we help struggling couples, Christian couples who've been maybe married for 5, 10, 20 years, and get them a quick turnaround in their marriage. So whether you're coming to us here in Facebook or on YouTube, make sure that, first of all, you click that subscribe button on YouTube. Make sure that you are liking our coaching page, but we also have a private group on Facebook called Turnaround Marriage. Make sure that you're part of that as well, so that you can see all the updates and all the content that we're putting out there. So yeah, guys, let's dive into the heart of this. And it is a problem that we see all of the time. People who start off, they get married, they love their spouse, things maybe seem to go well for 5, 10 years, maybe even just a couple years, and things are going so well. They're deeply in love. And it seems like, how could anything ever come against them? And you look back and you think, wow, the Lord brought us together. There was so many coincidences that were more than coincidences. It was the hand of God that brought us together. So why is it? How is it that we seem to have lost the way? So much so that sometimes now it really feels like I'm the only one that's in this marriage. I'm the only one that's fighting for it. I'm the only one that even sees that there's a problem. I'm the only one that's praying for any difference. I'm the only one that's trying to change things. And it seems like your spouse, all they want to do is complain or moan or fight or be angry with you or stonewall and distance themselves from you. Whatever it is, it sometimes can be so confusing for people when it seems like, here we were once so in love. What happened? How did we lose our way? And think back to in your own circumstance or with loved ones, family or friends. And you look back and you think, oh goodness, it was so obvious seeing my spouse's love for God, right? They seemed like such an honorable person. They cared about others. They wanted to change the world. They wanted to make a difference. And now we've gotten to the place where they seem so mean. Sometimes it actually will look not just that they're mean towards you, but sometimes it looks like they've lost their way, because they have. Maybe it looks like they've even lost the sense of honor that they once had, showing up in life with a sense of dignity and a sense of self-worth and a sense of making a difference, living out their life for God. And they've lost their way. And it may be for you, my friends, that you're in a place where you're trying really hard. And you are a person of honor yourself. And you know that your spouse is, or at least once was. They haven't been acting like it, but you know that you are, and you know that things could be better, and you've been trying to reach out to them. You've been trying to bridge that divide. You've been trying to break down the hurt that's come between you, those walls, and to rip those down. Maybe you've even been praying. Probably you have. Maybe you've been praying for a long time, and you've been trying to show up. You've been trying to impact change, and it doesn't seem to have worked. In fact, sometimes, especially if you've been doing it for a long time and it's not gotten better, the only conclusion that people can make is, I've tried to give to them what they need. I've been praying so hard. I've been trying to be faithful to God. I've been trying to even remind my spouse of who we are by trying to get us back into church, or trying to have prayer at meal times, or whatever it would be. And it can get so frustrating, and the belief becomes, it's my spouse. They can't change. They don't want to change. They're just plain, they hate me now. It seems like maybe they even hate God. They're so committed to being mean that there's no way that things can change. I guess I'm destined for this marriage to be stuck. And so, guys, this is the reality. We get this all of the time. We hear people say, um, basically this: I can't fight alone. They'll comment on our posts. They'll say, you don't understand my circumstance. Like, I've been praying for a long time and God isn't changing them. They don't want to change. They're just angry and mean. And actually we'll start throwing some labels on them. And then it's like, well, now they're here. We're pushing them away. You don't know my spouse. Nothing can possibly change in this marriage. There's too much that's happened. They're too mean. They're too angry. And they're so devoted to their bitterness and anger that things could never change. So, guys, I want to dissect this a little bit, because though it feels that way, it's actually not the case at all. Most likely. Obviously, we're speaking in generalities tonight. Your case might be unique. But for the larger section of the people that we talk to and what we see, it's this. Take a husband and wife. They start off in love. They start going down the journey of life. And then they hit the four, what we call the 4 Ds of disconnection, right? Life starts to happen. Maybe they have children, their careers start, whatever it is. Maybe you've moved. And then the first thing that happens is their distractions. And it could be the good distractions. It might be the careers. It might be the blessing of children. It might be pets. I mean, there's all kinds of things that are good that can still distract from the most important thing other than our walk with God, and that is a relationship with our spouse. But there's also obviously bad distractions, things that can happen along the way. Maybe a financial disaster. Maybe there's an injury, or there's a health complication. Life begins to happen, and there's all kinds of distractions around us. And then there are the second D, which are the decisions. There are decisions that we have to make in life about where we're going to live, the priorities that we're going to have, things of that nature. And when we are starting to get tense, and there are many things that have happened in life, and we've had some distractions already, and then the decisions come. If you're already not on the same page, those decisions can really make for you guys being in a very different plane. And then, of course, there are the disappointments. There are the disappointments of, we really hope to have more children. We really hoped that our life would look like this. We really hope that we would be able to cultivate our love. We really hope that we would feel connected more than we have. And there's a distraction of all kinds of things that can happen in our lives with our extended family or with friends, whatever it would be. And then there is the 4th D, which is the devil. Of course, he comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And when he can find a foothold in your marriage, oh, he knows how to exploit it. He knows how to get in there and drive wedges between the two of you. And then we begin to start to listen, because he doesn't lie to us in a way where it's like so obvious to us. It's those subtleties. And those subtleties towards, after many years of things being difficult, can look like what you have exactly believed, which is, things can never change. My husband, my wife, they're committed to being hateful. And so what happens, guys? We get disconnected. We get busy. We forget to nurture the relationship. We forget to cultivate the most important relationship that we have on earth. We forget that we're to love our first neighbor, which is our spouse. We forget that to prioritize the most important thing, which is the vine of the marriage. The fruit come from it. The children come from the vine. God said to be fruitful and multiply. And so what happens is, after time, if you try to reconnect and a lot has happened, and still those decisions are there, those distractions are there, the disappointment there, and of course the devil is still there stirring the pot, trying to make things worse. And you try to reconnect with your spouse. And what happens? This is the heart of it, guys. This is what you need to hear. The heart of it that happens all the time. We see it all the time. An honorable person sees, oh, we've lost our way. We need to reconnect. We need to get back on the right path, the way that God's designed this. And what do? Women think like a woman. Men think like men. And they think, and what my wife needs most of all is what I would need. What my husband needs most of all is what I would need. and they start going full gusto. Like I'll hear men say all the time, like I'm working hard. I'm trying to provide for her. And I'm trying to make money and I provide, I put food on the table and she doesn't even care. And I'm working harder and harder. And that's not even what she's asking for, guys. What she's asking for is your heart, for you to pursue her and to connect with her, among many other things. And so what happens is you'll have honorable people that are stuck at odds and they're trying really hard to give to the other person what they think they would want. And they're praying all the while. And what happens? It feels like they're hitting a wall. Why? Because their marriage is starving. They haven't nourished it the way they've needed to for a long time. And now their spouse is starving too. And what are they doing? What if you had a dog that was hungry and you fed him brownies? What would happen? He would eat them all up because he's starving. And what would it do to him? It'd make him sick. Guys, what we're oftentimes doing is feeding to the other person what we think we would want. And we're saying, I'm loving them. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. And they don't even receive it. Maybe, guys, you're not giving them what they need. Notice I'm not saying what they want. I'm saying what they need to feel, what they need to see, the love, the way they interpret it and hear it. And so people will say to me, oh, my husband is so different than me. We have such different personalities. And I will say, oh, I hope so. You're a woman. I hope so. You're a man. You should be different than them. Because the reality is, men and women, guys, we process things differently, and we need things different than a woman. A man needs to hear respect and encouragement. A woman needs to be pursued and loved. And there's so many other facets and dynamics to this. And so what happens, guys, is this: your marriage is starving. And people will ask, how could I impact the marriage? I'm just one person. He doesn't even seem to care. He's just pushing me away. She's just committed to, focused on the kids, whatever it would be. Guys, the dynamic that's happening is this: the marriage is starving. Your spouse is starving. You're starving. So what is the answer? Give up? No, of course not. The answer is to not give up. It's to continue to look to God and realize you're exactly the person that God brought to your spouse. And vice versa. God brought you guys together. And the answer, of course, guys, is to get to the place where you give to the other person what they need most of all. Now, many of you out there are going to be hearing this and saying, Scott, oh, obviously you're talking about the 5 love languages. No, actually, I'm not. I think the 5 love languages are good. I think they help us to understand what the other person needs, what we need. We actually need all 5 of them. It's just that one happens to be dominant. So that's not the actual solution. That's not actually the key that's most needing. It's giving and nurturing to your spouse what they need most of all. And so what I would say to you is, if you're listening tonight and you're not sure, okay, Scott, I hear you. It makes sense. How do I get there? Well, one great step is to have that conversation. Sit down and say, honey, I'd love to talk. I heard Scott talking about this, and I just wonder, what is it that you need most of all from me so that I can serve you and that you would feel that love from me? That's a great conversation to have. And guys, even in that conversation or before it, or maybe if they're not willing, you might come to the conclusion that I'm not sure what that is. I don't know how to get there. I don't know what to do. And guys, the answer is not give up. The answer is, I'm just destined to be stuck here. The answer is, when one person shows up in a big way and begins to nourish the marriage, to nourish the other person, when the lifeblood begins to fill back, one person, guys, can absolutely bring food to the table. Of course they can. And when the marriage is nourished and the other person, it begins to get nourishment themselves, they begin to also want to begin to show up as well, especially if you married an honorable person, and you begin to get what actually you need most of all. And then we get into not a vicious cycle, but a cycle of nourishment, exactly the way God designed marriage to be. So guys, if you're out there and you realize, okay, this sounds great, we need support to get there. What we do, and I would encourage you guys to reach out to us, is we do free breakthrough calls for anybody out there that realizes, wow, it's not working for us. We really need to talk to somebody about fixing things. We would encourage you to go to turnaroundmarriage.com/call. Pick a time that works, fill out that questionnaire. And what we do is hop on that call, talk about what's not working, where you hope it can go, and a path to get there. And if we can help, guys, we're absolutely going to make that path clear and paint the picture of what it would look like us working together. And if not, we're going to point you in the right direction. Either way, guys, you're going to get clarity about exactly what you need to do next. And so that you will know, how do I get to the place where I can nourish my spouse again, how I can nourish this marriage? Because once you do, guys, everything changes. We've seen it time and time and time again. And it's a beautiful thing. We've seen so many miracles this year of one person showing up in the marriage and made such radical change that it blows our minds. We're just so thankful to God for the privilege of doing what we do. So I encourage you again to go to turnaroundmarriage.com/call. But until next time, God's blessings upon you. And I hope you guys have a great evening.